Hello and welcome, fellow motorsports fans. It's been a brilliant week of racing, and as always, I'm here to tell you all about it. This time with the single-seater side of things, which let's get started immediately with the Macau F4 Grand Prix. Not the strongest field ever, but still it's Macau, it's always worth a watch. And Arvind Lindblad did get to end his F4 stint in style by dominating both the qualifying race and the actual race. The bigger thing was really, first of all, the quali race had horrible conditions, like super wet. So, as you'd expect, a bunch of F4 drivers on a wet street circuit. It was a lot more safety car than actual race laps. In fact, I'm not sure if they actually completed a single lap on racing speed. But nonetheless, Lindblad managed all the restarts really well to come home in P1 ahead of Freddie Slater, who also showed that he's clearly one of the quicker drivers on the field. Obviously, he's got the Prema bonus as well because Prema did manage a 1-2-3 in the quali race after Hadrian David found the wall. The actual race was very much, it looked like it's going to be Lindblad versus Slater. Can Slater keep up? Can he do something? Can he maybe attack? And turns out he can't because a mechanical problem forced him to retire pretty early on in the race, which then meant Lindblad more or less got to cruise to the victory. Nonetheless, great performances from both. Really happy for both. Obviously for Lindblad, a deserved end to his F4 stint, and I'm sure he's going to do well in F3, if not next year, then the year after. And Slater is already up to pace, even though his real F4 season is obviously only about to begin next year, so that's a very good sign for the things to come. The other thing I wanted to point out is Chinese F4 Championship leader Thiago Rodriguez did, I'd say, reasonably well. Just obviously these events are a decent opportunity to evaluate the Chinese F4 series, how it compares with the Western ones, and I'd say he did quite well. He ran sort of mid-pack, definitely beat the likes of Bianca Bastamanti, who she was sort of the decent yardstick in there to measure where the good drivers are and where the not so good drivers are, and they were below her in the P11 and onwards sort of regions. So yeah, Rodriguez was competing against the like of Stenshorn even, and Ethan Ho, and there was another noteworthy name in there that I am forgetting about right now. I don't know. Either way, so yeah, he is actually pretty decent. Chinese F4 isn't as weak as you may or may not believe sometimes. Anyway, this was really just the teaser for the F3 race next week. If you ask me, words are difficult. I wouldn't advise using them. Okay, next up, the long-awaited season finale of the Spanish F4 series. Obviously, Spanish F4 probably, I'd say, the third most competitive one after the Italian and the British F4 series, or maybe even it's on par with the British, I'd say. That sounds about right. And yeah, we had, first of all, Teo Final secure the title in style, just with a controlled race, and I don't even know where it came on. Yeah, P3. There we go. Just he didn't have much to do. Obviously, he knew he had the title more or less locked up if he just brings it home. So I don't think he was super risk happy during that particular race. And instead, this allowed Christian Ho to actually secure the win, which was only his third win of the season. But then he doubled up with win 2 and 3 as well in winning the other two races. So he got that trick really like nice end to the season on the absolute highest of highs that you can end on. Unfortunately, this amazing performance did get overshadowed a little. First of all, I just want to throw in a fun thing because race 2 was very safety car interrupted, and one of those safety car reasons was a bit more ridiculous than others, which was Maximilian Restrapo sort of flicking the car into the gravel, as you can see here. And as you can see, a very nice piece of driving brought out a safety car with 5 minutes to go. I couldn't quite believe it when it happened. That's a really bizarre sight. The other thing I want to throw in before we get to the big story of the weekend is Akshay Bora. He made his guest appearance after obviously completing the Italian and Euro F4 series already, and he's racing over in India. He's a really busy boy. But I have to say I was quite underwhelmed with his performance here. He was racing for, who was he actually racing for? Was it Campos? I believe it was Campos. Anyway, let's not look it up. He was in a good car, I remember that much. He was in a decent enough car, but was really nowhere to be seen. I don't know if he's just not familiar with the track. But yeah, he was struggling to crack the top 20, which is really a bit surprising given the field in the Spanish F4. I'd say is still a bit weaker overall than the Italian one, and obviously he's a front runner, or as close to front runner as he can be while not racing for Prema kind of guy in Italian F4. So yeah, just a bit of a weird one. The big story though was everybody's second or third or fifth favorite Red Bull Junior, Enzo Deligny, managed to pull off a really weird stunt in the final race, where first he shoved Valerio Renicella off the track on the start-finish straight at the beginning of the race, just like running him super wide, trying to defend the inside and forcing him fully off the track, which, as you'd expect, gets you a penalty. So he was given a drive-through for that, and he just refused to take the penalty throughout the entire race. His team asked him a lot. They the pit boards got more and more desperate over the course of the race. It was really interesting to see, and through a bunch of safety car restarts as well and everything. So it wasn't like, oh, he just didn't see it. No, he very much chose to not follow up on the thing he was asked to do. So very bizarre one. Obviously, he got DQ'd after the race, as you'd expect, but it remains to be seen whether that has any long-term effects on his career. Certainly strikes me as a bit of a dumb thing to do if you're a young driver trying to make a name for yourself, because that is not the kind of name you really want to have. Now, he's affiliated with Red Bull. He's shown he's got pace. He got P4 in the championship, easily the best rookie. I think he's safe on that regard. There's no reason to drop him from his program. There's been obviously some speculation on what drivers Red Bull would or wouldn't keep, but it doesn't make any sense to drop Deligny. His performance is there, but stuff like this might ruin your career before it ever really gets going. So I hope it doesn't affect him too negatively, but man, that was just really stupid. Okay, next up, a new sort of little favorite of mine, EUR Cup-3. Obviously, a new series started this year to, I guess, sort of replace the very struggling Euro Formula Open. And honestly, so far it has really delivered. They've gotten the car count up to a decent number over the course of the season, running almost 20 cars in the last couple of rounds. That's really solid for feeder series, I'd say. If they can maybe find one more team interested in the series, I think the grid would be perfect, the grid size. So that's great. Obviously, the caliber of drivers, not the greatest. There's only been a couple one-off performances from people like Solov are very interesting. And then obviously you have Mori Boya and Esteban Masson as the two big names in the series. Masson got the title in style, dominated both races, and when I say dominated, I really mean dominated. The first one he had a longer time of green running where you could just show that he can run away from the field big time. So that was fantastic to watch. And then the second one was more of a safety car interrupted messy feeder series race, and he managed every single restart to perfection to bring home the title. That was quite nice. Mari Boya had a couple interesting performances. He had a bit of a moment with Garfias in the first race. They were battling over the podium, and essentially Garfias did a really good job of defending P3 until he then did it a bit too much, and caused contact, which then meant he got a penalty after the race. So Boya did get the podium after all. I do want to point out, I need to read his first name, Tassanopol Intrapuvazhek. I can never pronounce this name. I've written it so many times, but saying it is really difficult. Intrapuvazhek. I think that's right. Either way, I do like the guy. He's had a few really convincing performances in the winter season, I thought. And yeah, even though his year started, his European part of the season started really poorly, he's gotten up to speed, and his performances in EUR Cup-3 also got better and better. And now he's he's got the reward for it by scoring back-to-back P2, which yeah, he's never had a P2 before in the series, so really, really nice ending to the year for him as well. And I'm curious to see where he'll end up next year. Maybe a return to FRECA. Who knows? We'll find out in no time. Overall, I think it's fair to say that Eurocup-3 is looking like a success. Like I said, I think if they could find like one more team to be interested in it, or obviously if they manage to attract maybe slightly better drivers next year, it could be one of those really, really good alternatives to FRECA for people to come through. All right. Now, time for the news-related section, as there wasn't any more races going on. And first up, we have Dean Fairclough moving to high-tech for his second year in British F4, which mainly the big news here is that he is actually staying in British F4 despite, I think he finished P3 or P4 in the season. I don't know why my brain cannot remember this bit of information. I think it might have been P4. So it was, I think this comes as a bit of a surprise. I was expecting him to step up maybe to GB3 or something like this. Clearly he thinks it's better to actually gun for the title. Automatically, just due to experience and the skill he's already shown, I think he's going to be a clear favorite for the title next year. But yeah, I just wanted to point this out as an interesting development. Then again, also very much in the category interesting development or unexpected roster moves is Ollie Goethe added to the Red Bull Junior team. I don't know why they call him a Euro Formula Open champion. I mean, I know why, because he is, but it wasn't this year. It's a bit weird. There's a new Euro Formula Open champion. My brain got confused when I read it the first time. Maybe that's probably on me, to be fair. Either way, this is a bit unexpected. Obviously, Goethe had, I'd say, a solid rookie season in F3. It wasn't bad by any means, but also not really impressive either, considering he was a teammate of Bortoletto and he was never in the title fight. Way too inconsistent for it. He's definitely shown pace, like he will win races again next year probably, although what car did he get? I do. He's only in a kind of mediocre team now, isn't he? I forgot where he's going to, but if the car allows, he's going to win the odd race or two next year. But I don't know, signing him to a junior, to an academy comes a bit out of left field. I don't see him getting near F1 realistically, but who knows? Interested to see what Helmut Marko and Red Bull sees in him, and maybe he proves me wrong next year. Then next up, this one I'm very confident to call just a bad move, which is Joshua Dirksen to Formula 2 next year. He's going straight to PHM. They need to follow their tradition of signing absolute shitters for their seats. I guess he's going to be an upgrade over, what was his name? Josh Mason, I think. Whatever. The mid-season replacement they got straight from FRECA to or straight from F3 to straight from FRECA to F2. That was always going to be a great move. And yeah, this is a bit of a similar thing. Josh Dirksen isn't anything special anyway on his own. It's not that he's bad. It's just that he's largely anonymous in a tier 4 series. So yeah, this just isn't going to end well. And then combined with the fact that the PHM car is obviously kind of bad, or something between kind of bad to really fucking terrible, depending on the weekend. So yeah, really bizarre move. He must have a lot of money, and PHM must really like a lot of money. Big news. Okay. And then last but not least, just to make next week a bit more appetizing even, is Dennis Hauger set to replace Colapinto in the MP for the Macau Grand Prix next week. So we're going to see Hauger back in an F3 car, which we all know he's a bit more competent in than in the F2 car. So can't wait to have him back, and I'm sure he's going to give the Macau win a good shot. Yeah, so hope this gets you excited for next week. If it does, and if you want to hear me talk about next week, then don't forget to subscribe so you'll know when I'm going to talk about next week. Anyway, cheers for watching, and I'll see you all. Bye-bye.